Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about refinishing tabletops, in particular hardwood tables, using the scraper method to save time sanding. Would not recommend this if it's your first time practicing on a veneer. It's definitely no point in laminate, that's pretty much impossible. So this is for hardwood tabletops that have annoyingly thick, cracked, or peeling polyurethane. Let's dive right in. All right, so what we're looking at is a white oak writing desk I built back in I think 2014. It's 5/4 thick top. It's got a burn mark from a plate I lit on fire during quarantine in the early days back in April of 2020. This is it standing on its own. And it's a polyurethane oil-based finish. That's worth noting for the aging on it. Now, what we're going to be doing today is scraping the finish off using this 2-inch flat scraper. Also important to note, it's a flat flooring scraper, not a curved blade. I picked this thing up on Amazon. I think it was like 34 bucks. So I just dive right in. Clearly, I'm actually doing it wrong in my opinion because I'm setting the blade down. I think you're supposed to push back forward because it can nick the table. But seeing as this is a practice project on my writing desk, I really don't mind. Time lapse forward to save everybody the grief of watching my elbows wear out. And you'll see that this blade is doing a great job of removing material that is predominantly finish only, not a whole lot of surface level of the wood grain. It's worn out. This blade has been used on my floor at the house that we're remodeling right now. And it's still giving us really good snake skins. That's what I call the shavings. If they start to look any more broken or shorter than this, it's time to flip the blade or switch the blade because you'll be wasting your time. And here you see I'm just repeating the process. Now I'm actually starting to slide it instead of lift that blade. So here we go. The majority of this finish has been removed. Realistically, guys, I think this took me about 10 to 15 minutes. Now I'm going to switch to the Rotex. If you guys know what I'm talking about with this, be sure that when you switch to grind mode, you lock the gears in manually so you don't blow out the gear ring. For those of you guys who don't have a Rotex or haven't used one, it's an incredibly powerful sander that has a fixed rotation on it and an oscillating mode. Little trick here, I use a pin. My mentor taught me pencil or pen to mark your tabletop. Once you sand through those markings, you should be good to go to the next grit. Just a little bit of touch up on the edges. And you can see here what's called pigtailing. These little scratches are when you're stepping up grits, or if you have it on grind mode or you're just not doing a great job sanding. Excellent way to get rid of pigtails is to pop the grain using water. Especially on oak and open grain wood, this works phenomenally well. It will lift that top cell layer of grain up to be recut off using sandpaper. So I just take a damp rag. This is the grain popped. I'm going to try and zoom in on some pigtails for you here just to kind of see what's going on. You can kind of see them. They're all swirling in a direction that's of the orbit. Those little striations there going across the grain. Those will show like crazy through your top coat. So it's important to grit up appropriately. This is a 150 grit here. You can see it's got a decent sheen on it. I turned my dust collection down to half. It helps burnish the wood to get that little bit of shine. And now I'm going to prep it for top coat, which we're using Bona Natural Seal. I want to test this method. Boom, poured way too much on. No problem admitting that. Way overzealous, and I'll pay the consequences here shortly because it's taking me forever to feather this out. I don't know what I was thinking. To be honest, I really just don't know. But it was way too much. It's dripping all over, all on my floors. Luckily, I used the same product on my floors. So not really too worried about it. I'm also going to clean it up. In this room, we're probably going to redo the floors again because I just don't know if I love the color. But yeah, we're just going for it here. And I'm basically back brushing because there's so much. I'm just going to feather it in. Here's the consequences, but it's an easy water cleanup. There's not a lot of off-gassing with this product, at least that's nauseous. I still left the room and popped the window open. Here you go, finished product. Straight to the point. It is a sealer. This is just a sealer. I'm gonna do a separate video on the top coat. But guys, it laid down great. There's no flashing. There really didn't seem to be any streaking or brush marks. When I cut this down with 220 and then get ready for a top coat, I think that's gonna be a really fun process. Be careful on your knots and pooling. If you dump a bunch of finish on like I did, you're gonna get what looks like hot glue in your pockets and voids. But right here, you can just see, It's a pretty nice even finish for one coat of sealer. I'm happy with it because I'm confident that I'll be able to get a good top coat to lay down without any big issues. So that's where we're at with this. I want you guys to just remember that this process is great for removing old finish. I'm a firm believer that the less you use a sander, the better. I don't like sanding. I don't enjoy it. Very rarely do I wake up and get excited to go sand a tabletop. So I found out that this method worked really well when I was working on a refinish for a restaurant, and they had the iconic like sticky tables, and it was just gumming up my sanding pads. It was a horrific experience. I was really bummed out, kind of freaking out in my head. I had 30 tables to refinish. I didn't know how I was going to get it done in time or without blowing through hundreds of dollars of 6-inch orbital sanding pads. So I bought a scraper and I just dove in, and I found it works really well for what I need it to. Now keep in mind a couple things that are not good about a scraper. It doesn't do great for open grain woods like oak. It helps to have a really good sander after that because the grain's so porous, your top blade's only going to cut that top layer of the grain. And so if there's any pocket that's down below that's holding that, and you're just scraping that top layer, even though it looks flat on top, that void is still gonna hold old finish. And so if you're doing what I was just doing, moving from oil base to water base, you're gonna see it. So you really gotta focus on the open grain woods, getting as detailed as possible on your finish sanding before you go into top coat, or you're going to see very, very discolored streaking in the table. That's it. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment. I'll try my best to get back to you in a timely manner. If you liked what you saw, do us a favor, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Until next time, see you later.